Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Conversations and Connections. I'm your host, Sandy McGregor, and we are here today to have a conversation and connect with Shelly. We are so excited to have her here. She has so much to share and so many wonderful books that she's written, her podcast, and different things that she is involved with. And I'm so excited to share her journey with you, her journey of faith. And I'm just excited that this podcast is able to bring people together and their different faith stories so that we can be encouraged together as the body of Christ. So thank you, Shelly, for being here today.
I'm so glad to be here. Glad to connect with you.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us and the listeners a little bit about you so they have a good understanding of who you are?
Oh, sure. I live in Niagara region in a little town called Beamsville. It's super adorable here. And I've been married for 27 years, and I have two kids, a boy and a girl. They're all grown up and married now. So that's been a fun season of our lives. And then I have a sweet little grandson. He's 19 months. And then my daughter is expecting a baby in just 10 weeks. So yeah, I'm in this, I call it my empty nest Grammy midlife era. So yeah, so it's like this really different time of life for us, but I'm just loving it and embracing everything that it brings. So yeah,
that's wonderful. That's exciting. It sounds like it's full and busy and wonderful.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you are a writer and you're a podcaster, you're a blogger, and I was reading too that you love to develop curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was actually going to ask you, what kind of curriculum are you interested in pursuing more?
I've done a lot of projects for children, for church-based curriculums. I did some projects when I was working at 100 Huntley Street at Crossroads. So yeah, I just love any kind of, I just love the whole process of putting curriculum together and then all the resources that go with it and the videos and everything. It's really exciting for me to do that. And I've done some projects too, more geared towards adults. But yeah, I just love that whole process.
That's amazing.
Kind of helping people learn.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. It's like the teacher and me. So when I was reading that, I thought we have a lot of things in common. And I thought there's another thing that we have in common. I love that. Yeah. And we have a lot of friends in common too. So it's kind of nice that we actually are meeting for the first time, albeit on Zoom. So hopefully we can change that because it would be nice to actually have a coffee with you.
It would be. Yes.
Yeah. So why don't we get right into this? What about, can you share a little bit about your early beginnings and your childhood, kind of how all of that influenced your faith journey for you?
Mm-hmm. So I was raised in just a beautiful Christian family. My mom and dad just loved Jesus with all their hearts. So I can't think of a time in my life that didn't involve faith or church or God. It was just such a part of my upbringing. I was also adopted, so that's a big part of my life story as well. But I just grew up passionate about the church, passionate about Jesus and just ministry and just following his calling in my life. I just, from a really young age, recognized, that God had a calling for me. So it's taken me in different paths. I've been in ministry, church ministry for a little while and through my writing, but I've just always there's never been any doubt in my mind that I just want to follow Jesus and all I do from a young age. So I'm
that's
grateful
really
for that upbringing.
Yeah. I love what you said about how you just feel like it was just kind of always there. Jesus was always present. And I almost feel like I can relate to that too, because of growing up in a Christian home. And I think to myself, what a gift we have to be able to have that foundation and how easy it is to almost take it for granted because it's just what we do every Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, or whatever you're doing. And I think it's a real choice we have to make, that we're not going to allow the distractions get in our way and let that fire be, quenched. But it can become, I hate that word complacent, but you can almost become, well, this is just the way I was raised. And, and so it's exciting to see how God has taken you and given you this amazing foundation and what you're doing with it now today. It's really exciting.
Yeah. I can't imagine. So often I think, like my hope is in Jesus and everything. So, when I see people around me walking through situations in their life, and
Mhm.
I'm just like always so grateful that I have Jesus, because I don't know how I would do anything without him.
No,
So
I
I'm just
understand.
grateful that he's solid, that
Yeah.
solid thing in my life when things, around me aren't always
No,
what they should be.
yeah, no, that's really wonderful.
Yeah.
It's a hope that we get to share. No, we don't have to
Hmm.
do anything, but we get to do it.
Yes, for
And
sure.
that is a really unique calling that we have. And I just see you embracing that through what you're writing and your books and your podcast, A Space for Grace. And it's really wonderful. There's always a space for another podcast to be sharing the goodness of God. And I love
Yes.
that. So I love what you're
Yes.
doing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you maybe describe, was there like a pivotal time that led you maybe to draw closer to the Lord and challenge your faith?
Hmm. I was thinking about this, it actually going back to, talking about being adopted.
Mm.
Um, and I wasn't going to talk about this, but here we are. I'll just talk about it. But 3 years ago, a Facebook memory popped up today. And so it was 3 years ago that I discovered my birth family. And
Wow.
so that was like a huge pivotal time in my life. There was so many
For
other
sure.
things going on that we'll probably talk about later, but just in the middle
Mhm.
of a big, crazy season, my kids had got me a DNA test for Mother's Day, kind of unusual gift. But so I did it and sent it away. And I didn't realize when I did it that it was going to come back with like actual family connections. And
Wow.
so I wasn't really prepared for that
No,
whole journey.
no.
But there I was faced with it, like, in my whole life, I really struggled with identity and belonging, and there were,
Mhm.
rejections just stemming from, you know,
Yeah,
that adoption experience.
right.
And so I was just faced with all of it at once. And so it was just a
Mm.
real time in my life where I just really had to like just cling to God because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to process everything.
Right.
It's even 3 years later, it's still a story unfolding, but it was just like one of those seasons where just everything just came at once. And, I remember
Wow.
waking up in the middle of the night and I thought I was having a heart attack. And I,
Yes.
voluntarily went to the doctor the next day, which I don't like going to the doctor, but it was just like I had a physical reaction. I had an emotional spirit,
Right.
but through it all, it was just like, God was my rock. And it was as, as upending as it was
Mhm.
in that moment, it was also just such a reminder too of just the goodness of God in my life,
Yeah.
and how the plans he had for me from the very beginning, that they were good plans, when I
Yes.
could, now that I know the full story and I
Right.
can see the
Right.
full picture. It was just one of those, yeah, those seasons that I talk a lot about in my book too. Those seasons kind of intermingled with joy and hope and
Right.
happiness, but also that pain season too. So
Right.
that's probably a more recent experience in my life where I just
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
needed God to just come in and just be there with me and help me through.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Like talk about you're on one path one day, and then in an instant, you're completely on another path trying to figure out this
Yeah.
other part of the unknowns that you've
Yeah.
thought about for your
Yeah.
entire life. And I've heard this story often when it comes to kids that have been adopted, that they may never find out or they may find out. And it's just this whole change in their world.
Yeah.
And it's a big journey of discovery. And you're only 3 years into it. So
Yeah.
it's still fresh. It's still raw
Yeah.
for sure.
And I'm like a grown up. like like I'm like this stage of my life, I feel like I should have it all together, but I don't all the time. And so
No,
yeah. So that's
really.
when we need
Mhm.
God, when we just, yeah, when these things come our way and we just have to figure out how to navigate them. So
Yeah. But it's another
grateful.
reminder that we can't do this alone. And you need
Yeah.
your family beside you, you need your friends with you, and you need
Yeah.
God being the one who's guiding you, because this wasn't a surprise to him. And so
Hmm.
often we are the ones thinking, oh, this is such a surprise. Like how, why, and what's going on? And actually there's a part in your book, because we'll get into your book in a minute, about when you were having a conversation with your daughter that really struck a chord with me, when she'd made the comment, why is everything happening all at once? And that
Yeah.
often seems to be the case. And I can't explain why, but I
Yeah.
know that God knows, and he's going to walk with us, and we don't have to do it alone. But it doesn't mean that clicks immediately, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I always go, I love Ecclesiastes 3, where it just talks about those
Mhm.
different seasons in our life. And,
Yeah.
there's time to be born, a time to die, a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time for, to mourn and dance. And there's just always these contrasting things that we're going through, and if we were always if everything was always great, that wouldn't be realistic. And if everything was always terrible, we wouldn't be able to function. So it's just that in the middle, I just feel that middle space is just, where God meets us and just helps us to go through the things that we're facing. So
yeah, for sure. Oh, that's really good. I loved your book, The Longest Goodbye.
Thank you.
It's been The Longest Goodbye. And I love, well, actually, I was going to read an endorsement, if you don't mind.
Okay.
So I was actually I think I was just going to do Kathy. So Kathy Osterchuk.
Yes.
I know.
Amazing.
Kathy. She played piano at our wedding.
Oh, that's so amazing. She's awesome.
She is. So here's what Kathy says about your book, The Longest Goodbye. It's much easier to write fiction than to share a hard human story of love and loss for others to read. Shelley has brilliantly authored pages that share the hard and the good of loving someone fiercely while losing them slowly to Alzheimer's. Shelley is both honest and honoring with her words as she draws the reader into the journey of the one thing she feared the most, her mother's diagnosis and her slow decline to Alzheimer's. Her words paint a stunning picture of a brave and tender response to human suffering, be moved in the reading of this beautiful remembrance. And I love her words so much because that's exactly how I felt. And just that whole concept of being moved into a beautiful remembrance. And you truly honor so much of your family and the journey and your mom in this book. It's just so beautifully written, so tender and so lovely. And I'm like, oh, this is just so good. I love it so much. So I just want to know, talk about where the beginnings of you deciding to actually write this out, because this must have been a really hard thing to do.
Yeah, you're making me cry.
Oh no! I'm like, when I was reading the book, I was getting all emotional. I'm like, everybody, guys, just give me a minute, please. But it is so beautiful, so beautiful.
Thank you. I really, I've been writing for years and years, and I was thinking yesterday, my mom was just a big cheerleader of me and my work, and starting to write, and I just think back to her and I sitting around, and she's just encouraging me, and us not knowing that the book that I would write would be about losing her. So that when I really think about it a lot, that, of course, it's emotional. Yes. I never wanted to write a book about losing my mom.
No, you never set out to do that. No, for sure, no.
Yeah, and it's still tender too. That's another tender story because it's been 19 months now. So it's, it hasn't been 2 years yet since she's been gone. But I really remember as I've been going through this journey at the beginning, it was just so hard and I felt so alone. And so I started blogging and sharing little snippets, and people would respond and private message me and send me, I'd get so many emails and stuff. And I realized I'm not the only one who's going through this. And, maybe there's an opportunity here to walk together with people. Cause sometimes I feel like there's a lot of things we go through that we never talk about.
Absolutely.
And so I just felt maybe this is the story that I'm supposed to write about my mom. So I just started kind of expanding from my posts I had done. And I just felt, and I felt too, when I was going through it, it was really hard for me to find resources that offered hope. And that's what I really felt in this journey. This Alzheimer's journey feels so hopeless. And there's 50 million people around the world with Alzheimer's dementia. It's huge, massive numbers. And it's such a lonely journey.
Huge number. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just thought if there's a way that people can walk through this journey of pain with some hope and being able to look for the good things on the hard days, then maybe that's my voice in this whole thing. And maybe, because I made a conscious decision, in our family, my grandfather had Alzheimer's, my mom's two brothers. So I knew what the path was going to look like, but I just really made a decision my mom, she was the most incredible, amazing mom. And I was just going to love her the way that I know she would, have loved me if I was the one who was ill, or I wanted to love her as well as she had loved me my whole life. And so I really made that decision to do that, through every stage of the illness, and then just write about it and, honor her, and also hopefully encourage other people too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I love in your book too, you have these parts at the end of your chapter, and it's just a simple, the reflection part. And it sealed the whole chapter perfectly. Like it gave us that last moment to take a deep breath and go, okay, I'm going to reflect on this chapter, because they're hard chapters and they're beautiful chapters, and they're so eloquently written and so vivid, and the illustrations and I particularly loved how you spoke about your dad, and it was so beautiful how you honored him and shared just the journey from his perspective too, but how you all came together and you worked together as a team in something unexpected that you did not plan for, you didn't ask for, and why is this happening? But yet you chose to, as you say, a family's hope-filled journey. You chose to keep that hope alive, even though it was really hard, and you have some really tender moments in here. But I know when people read this, they are going to be moved and be able to pass it on to somebody else who's going through, whether it's Alzheimer's or not, something similar to loss and to pain. And I'm sure that's probably what you've heard from people as well, that it can be relatable in different situations.
Yes. I mean, there's so many caregivers who are caring for loved ones, whether they have cancer or any sort of disease. So it is my hope that it will offer encouragement to people on various journeys, for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that part so much about your dad, and I love how you connected with other family on the East Coast, and particularly when you went out with your mom for that one trip that they convinced you to go. And I thought that was so neat, because I thought, wow, what a leap of faith for you to do that. But what a gift. What a gift.
Yeah, I really believe in moments. Like, I'm a big moments person. And I just think that there's moments all around us that we can grab all the time,
totally.
Even when things are hard. And so I feel like I've become a collector of moments, and especially in that season with my mom. And I just have all these moments now, and, she's gone, but I can look back and I just remember them, and they, they bring me comfort and peace. And I'm so happy that I chose that path of looking for joy and hope and gifts along the way.
Oh, I definitely see that. You would say this book would be probably a part of healing for you too?
Yeah, for sure. It's still, right now on my podcast, I decided I would read through every chapter on my podcast. So that's even the act of doing that, just going through that process has been brought some healing to me too, which I wasn't expecting. I just thought I would sit down and read through it, but it's been kind of bring me back to some different things and reflections. So
Oh, I can see that for sure. I mean, you're reliving a tender moment or a fun moment or something. Like when you talk about Mary Kay, I love that so much. I could relate so well, having people come to our house and present this beautiful pink product that you become obsessed with. So when you were writing about that, I'm like, I totally understand what she's talking about.
I still have a few. Well, in my book, I write about how I took home like all of her extra stuff. So I still have a few in my cupboard. They're way expired, but I just don't want to get rid of them.
I love that part. That was really special. But I love the fact too that you chose to put this out there on your podcast, because I think when it comes to listening, there's something unique that happens. And you start to live it in your mind in a different way than you are in a book. And I think that's what's so neat about having audiobooks and regular books. I think there's such a beautiful blend in those. So I think it's really special that you chose to do that. That was a hard thing to do though. That would be really hard.
I also did it because I've met a few people who have told me, I have your book, I'm just not ready to read it yet. And I understand that too, because I remember a season I was in where I just couldn't read anything or look at anything. So I thought, well, maybe if I just break it down into little pieces on a podcast, maybe that's something that's maybe a little easier, a little bit at a time. So that's another reason why I thought I would do that. So
I was very sensitive to others, because they may be in the middle of it, in the thick of it. And maybe it's almost like you've pulled up a chair, or you're in the living room, you're having a coffee and you're just talking to somebody. And I think that's very comforting. So
I hope so. Thank
Yeah,
you.
for sure. I do agree for sure. Well, this book is fantastic. And then I also found out that you wrote um, Teeny's Hairbrush, right?
Teeny's Tangles.
Tangles. Sorry, Tangles. I was thinking about the
It's okay.
hairbrush analogy.
Yeah, it's about a hairbrush.
I loved it so much. It
Thank you.
was so wonderful and so funny and so sweet. And I was able to listen to it. So I need to order it to actually
Thank
have it in my
you.
hands. But really, really cool. So did you ever think you were going to write a children's book? Was that your initial part of your plan?
Yes, initially that's what I wanted to do. So
Okay.
I did this book. It's been like, I don't know, I think it was 2012. So it's been out for a long time. And it's based on my daughter, who, as I said, is grown up now, having her own
Great.
little girl in a few weeks. So she can read this book to her, but it was
I
based
love
on
it.
her. And she had a lot of hair drama as a child. So I just took that and made it into a little book about her. So it was
Oh,
really fun
it's
to
so
write.
funny. It is so fun. I love that book. And even though you wrote it, it doesn't matter when you wrote it, because to me, that's what I love about books. You just keep
Yes.
coming back and you coming back. And now
Yes.
you get to read for your grandchildren, something
Yes.
sweet like that. I love that.
Yeah,
So
it's fun.
I have a sense that you probably have something more on the go. I think I saw something, you're partnering with somebody for another
Yes.
project. So let's talk about that. What's the project?
Yes. Well, I'm part of a foundation called the Sarah Tapley Foundation. And that was started by my very good friends, Matt and Lisa Tapley. And their daughter, Sarah, passed away from cancer 11 years ago now.
Okay.
And so the foundation was started after that in her memory. And the goal of the foundation is to provide support to families who have children with long-term illness and critical illness. So just like helping them practically through, meals, hospital support, just different things like that. And so this project was birthed out of that. So Matt and I have written a book. It's number 1 in the series, called The Super Siblings.
Okay.
And it's really a series designed to help the families and children in a situation like this. Because often, when a child is diagnosed with, a life-threatening illness, all of the attention, rightly so, in a family is focused on that child.
Sure.
Well, then you have siblings who are, their world's been turned upside down as well. And they don't know what to do, and their whole life has changed. So we've kind of written this book through a lens to help them and support them. So we're really excited about it. It's a 3-part series. It's kind of superhero based with just really tender messages. So Matt and I are getting ready to launch that out, and it'll support the foundation. And we just hope it'll just, encourage families. So we're excited about it.
Yeah, I love that. I think how special that would be to know that there some love and attention can be directed to one of the siblings, and just saying, hey, you know what, we see you. We see you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So it's a special project. Our families are very close, so we have walked through a lot of seasons together and loved their daughter dearly. So it's really special to be part of that.
So when can we look for it? Is that coming out sometime soon?
That will be in 2025. So it's just in the illustration stage right now. So. Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. I love it so much. That's so exciting. So talk a little bit about just some of your speaking. How has that evolved for you over the years, based on maybe your children's book or your curriculum, or even your work with Hunter Huntley and then this book? I mean, I'm sure there's been so many different avenues that have kind of unfolded for you.
Yes, for a while I was really focused on, when I was in church ministry, I did a lot of speaking about families, family ministry focused, parenting. So I really, really loved doing that. With this book, I'm trying to speak more. I would really love to be out there sharing about, hope and overcoming through hard seasons. So that's something really on my heart that I'm hoping there'll be opportunities in the future to do. And I've done stuff with my kids' books. I'm just really open to whatever God has for me.
No, that's great. I love it.
Yeah, wherever He takes me, I'm just willing to share and however I can, wherever I can. So yeah.
Well, I hope people that are listening today will go to your website, and I'll put links below so that people are able to contact you and maybe bring you into their church or a speaking engagement to share what the hope is, because we need it so much in this world today. And I know you know that.
Yeah. I had a great opportunity a couple months ago. I was invited to share at a seniors group, and it was just so beautiful. I was just really touched. But I just felt like, there were people there who were there with their spouse who had Alzheimer's or, Parkinson's, or so it was just like, it was a really, keep using the word tender, but it was really a tender morning. And I just really felt like it was just a wonderful ministry opportunity. So I would just love to, be doing more of that and encouraging people, telling them they're not alone. I think it's important to know that you're not alone on your journey.
Oh, for sure. And I think that we neglect in our minds that people need to hear that. But they do. We need to do it, and it needs to be done as much as we possibly can, because there's so much loneliness today.
Yes, for sure.
And I love the fact that you would be going into a seniors home like that and sharing and allowing these caregivers to know that they are, we're aware of what you're going through, and I care for you, and I'm here, and you're not alone. I think that's really precious.
Yeah, I remember even when my mom was in her long-term care home, just going in there, and I never even experienced that world before. I think you don't know until you get to that stage, right? And just the loneliness and the people in there that I saw who didn't have anybody, and it just broke my heart. And so I just think, knowing that there's people that care about you and are with you, I just think it's so important.
Well, you have a beautiful ministry, and I believe the door is just wide open for wherever God is going to lead you, for sure. So just before we kind of close today, what kind of word of encouragement could you share with somebody who might be hearing about you and your book for the first time, and either whatever part of their journey might be? What could we say, or what could you say to them today to encourage them in their journey?
I think that wherever you are, it's just really important to remember that, I kind of go back to Ecclesiastes again. The beginning of Ecclesiastes starts with the word meaningless, meaningless, everything's meaningless. And I think sometimes in our life, a lot of times we feel that way, that things are just meaningless, and that, nothing makes sense, that nothing's, working out, and the situation is hopeless. But I just really believe that God is there right in the middle. Again, back to the middle. He's just right there in the middle with us in our journey. And, we sometimes feel like we're going to fall off, or we're just going to lose control, or we can't hold on, but he's there. Right. He's just right with you. He's holding on tight with you. So, we're not alone. That's our hope. Going back to just, our hope is in Jesus. My hope's in Jesus. I can't imagine, my whole life I've believed that, and I believe it so strongly for others too, that our hope's in Jesus.
Yeah. And your strength is what is going to inspire and encourage somebody else to really turn toward God and say, okay, I can't do this, and I do need the Lord. And you're becoming, helping people become disciples, and to really lean into the Lord in any of these unexpected times, because we all have them. We all have had them, or will have them, or are in the middle of it. So I love your ministry. I love what you're doing. It has hope written all over it. And it's such an encouragement, Shelly. And I will be praying for you in your ministry. And I pray that many opportunities can come from people that are hearing this today. And that God would just continue to use you and move mountains. Right?
Thank you. I so appreciate you having me today. And thank you. Great. And hopefully we can have coffee in real life soon.
I would love to. I would love to. So thank you so much for your time today, Shelly. And I hope you have a great rest of your evening. And we'll definitely get connected for that coffee.
Okay. Thank you.